So, wieder da. Hallo.
Hallo.
Der Polo hat Panik. Ich hätte nicht gern Donner und Blitz.
Aber ja, das ist schon geil.
Ich weiß nicht. Habe ich mein Trinken vergessen. Kommen wir gleich wieder. Oh, jetzt bin ich endgültig wieder da.
Hallo.
Oh.
Herzlich willkommen zurück.
Ghost Team Run.
Nein,
Beim Gönnen.
ich bin voll fertig.
Glück kannst du nicht verlieren.
Ja. Oh. Ist okay. Ich bin ein paar Sekunden voraus. Aber jetzt bin ich beim Marsch, wo ich ab da kann ich recht viel aufholen. Also sprich, noch mehr vor. Echt ey. Mein Mountain nicht so gut gewesen. Mein Marsch. Also.
Blue Mountain kann niemand gut.
Bis jetzt, also heute war bis jetzt jeder Mountain besser gewesen als der in meiner PB, aber echt, es ist halt irgendetwas verschieden.
Ja, schon. Aber es gibt sehr wenige Runs, wo ich nicht zufrieden bin mit dem Mountain.
Mhm.
Sehr wenig meine ich eigentlich null. Die meisten Leute so.
Up there,
Mountain ist bei mir bis
you
jetzt
go
selten
around
das, die
every
nicht
hour
zufrieden.
and a half,
Das ist meistens irgendwie
time after time
Jungle
after
oder
time.
Bunker vor allem.
You wake up
Okay.
usually in the mornings,
Das ist irgendwie hasse die
and
zwei Ideen.
just the way that the track of your orbits
Jungle kann ich
go,
verstehen.
you wake up over the Mideast, over North
Bunker
Africa.
ist
As you
ja
eat
meistens
breakfast,
okay.
you look out the window as you're going
Bunker kann ich
west,
einfach irgendwie
and there's the
passen,
Mediterranean
sorry.
area, and Greece, and
Sorry.
Rome, and North Africa, and the Sinai, the whole area. And you realize that in one glance, that what you're seeing
die drei,
is
die
what
das
was the
Glas musst
whole
lösen,
history of
theoretisch.
man for
Dann habe ich auch
years,
mehr.
the cradle
Ja.
of civilization.
So nicht.
And you go around down across North Africa and out over the Indian Ocean and look up at that great subcontinent of India, pointed down toward you as you go past it. And Ceylon off to the side, Burma, Southeast Asia, out over the Philippines, and up across that monstrous Pacific Ocean. Vast body of water. You've never realized how big that is before. And you finally come up across the coast of California and look for those friendly things. Los Angeles and Phoenix and on across El Paso.
Warte,
And
schon
there's
wieder.
Houston. There's home. And you look and
Der dritte
sure
blaue
enough,
Panel ist
there's the
das, obwohl ich
Astrodome.
nicht richtig stehe,
And you
dass es irgendwie
identify
geht.
with that, you know? It's an attachment. And down across New
Mountain.
Orleans, and then looking down to the south, and there's the whole peninsula of Florida laid out. And all the hundreds of hours you spent flying across that route, down in the atmosphere, all that is friendly again. And you go out across the Atlantic Ocean and back across Africa. And you do it again, and again, and again. And that identity, that you identify with Houston, and then you identify with Los Angeles, and Phoenix, and New Orleans, and everything. And the next thing you recognize in yourself is you're identifying with North Africa. You look forward to that. You anticipate it. And there it is. That whole process begins to shift of what it is you identify with. When you go around it in an hour and a half, you begin to
Wow.
recognize that your identity is with that whole thing. And that
20
makes a
Sekunden
change.
rausgeholt im Mountain
You look
Race.
down there, and you can't imagine how many borders and boundaries you crossed again and again and again. And you
Ooh.
don't even see them. At that wake-up scene, the Mid-East, you know there are hundreds of people killing each other over some imaginary line that you can't see. From where you see it, the thing is a whole, and it's so beautiful. And you wish you could take one from each side in hand and say, look at it from this perspective. Look at that. What's important?
Wieder schnell weg.
And so a little later on, your friend, again those same neighbors, another astronaut, the person next to you goes out to the moon. And now he looks back and sees the Earth not as something big where he can see the beautiful details, but he sees the Earth as a small thing out there. And now that contrast between that bright blue and white Christmas tree ornament and that black sky, that infinite universe, really comes
Wieder da.
through. The size of it, the significance of it. It becomes both things. It becomes so small and so fragile, and such a precious little spot in that universe that you can block it out with your thumb. And you realize that on that small spot, that little blue and white thing is everything that means anything to you. All of history and music and poetry and art and war and death and birth and love, tears, joy, games, all of it is on that little spot out there that you can cover with your thumb. And you realize that that perspective, that you've changed, that there's something new there. That relationship is no longer what it was. And then you look back on the time when you were outside on that EVA and those few moments that you had the time because the camera malfunctioned, that you had the time to think about what was happening. And you recall staring out there at the spectacle
es ist
that
jetzt
went before
unter
your
19.
eyes.
Mein PP ist
now,
immer noch über 20.
You're no longer inside something with a window looking out at a picture. But now you're out there, and what you've got around your head is a goldfish bowl, and there are no limits here. There are no frames. There are no boundaries. You're really out there, over it, floating, going 25,000 miles per hour, ripping through space, a vacuum, and there's not a sound. There's a silence, the depth of which you've never experienced before. And that silence contrasts so markedly with the scenery and the speed with which you know you're going. That contrast, the mix of those two things, really comes through. And you think about what you're experiencing and why. Do you deserve this? This fantastic experience? Have you earned this in some way? Are you separated out to be touched by God to have some special experience here that other men cannot have? You know the answer to that is no. There's nothing that you've done that deserves that earned that. It's not a special thing for you. You know very well at that moment, and it comes through to you so powerfully that you're the sensing element for man. You look down and see the surface of that globe that you've lived on all this time, and you know all those people down there. They are like you. They are you. And somehow you represent them when you are up there. A sensing element. That point out on the end. And that's a humbling feeling. It's a feeling that says you have a responsibility. It's not for yourself. The eye that doesn't see does not do justice to the body. That's why it's there. That's why you're out there. And somehow you recognize that you're a piece of this total life. You're out on that forefront and you have to bring that back somehow. And that becomes a rather special responsibility. It tells you something about your relationship with this thing we call life.
Vom letzten links oder
And when you
vom
come
letzten
back,
rechts?
There's a difference in that
was ist
world
rechts
now.
und links?
There's a difference in that
Link,
relationship between
wenn du von der
you
Random Bounce
and
aus
that
schaust,
planet.
kommt es
And
eigentlich
you
nur
and all those
darauf
other forms of
an,
life
wie
on that
lang
planet.
es
Because you've
geht,
had
bis du die
that
linke
kind of
fertig hast.
experience. It's a difference.
Lang schnell bist bei der rechten, weil bei der linken kommt ja
Oh
der
yes!
Teil auf. Der Bibi.
At dawn.
1925.
25?
Ja, 40 Sekunden.
Nicht schlecht.
Jetzt bin ich gerade
Also,
3 Plätze besser, Gigi.
wenn die linken Pillars fertig hast, dann kommt der Lift langsam auf und wenn du die rechten fertig hast, dann macht der Lift aus und die Steine kommen aus dem Wasser.
Ja.
Und wenn du schnell genug bist mit der rechten, dann ist
Aha.
der Lift immer noch aus dem Wasser rausgekommen und darum kommt es nur darauf an, wie lange es geht, bis die linken fertig hast.
Muss schnell sein für die Rechten. Oder nur so semi-schnell.
Du bist auch im Stream auch schon schnell genug gewesen, als ich dafür kam. Also musst, wenn irgendwie ein Pillar failst, dann schaffst du es nicht, aber sonst schaffst du es eigentlich immer.
Ja, nur, weißt du, nur ein Goldsplit. Aber
Ja.
ich bin trotzdem. Also ich bin trotzdem irgendwie auch immer einfach dafür
bubble.
fast immer
A
verdammt
bubble
nah
in a
an PB
stream.
gewesen.
In
Ja.
a stream.
Das ist irgendwie. Weil ja heute auch Runs gehabt, wo ich 4 Mal Gold gehabt habe. Aber wenn ich einfach einen Fehler mache, spielt es nicht.